Good afternoon, Phillip. Thank you so much for coming and spending your time on the election roadshow for Extinction Rebellion. We're here by the Manawatu Awa, and first of all though, we'd like you to tell us a little bit about yourself so that we can understand who you are.
Great, yeah. I'm a 78-year-old Kiwi and a long-term resident of this town. You know, I grew up here and we raised our kids here, and so this river's been always part of my life. So we've got 3 daughters and 4 grandchildren, and I've been involved in helping the professions most of my life. So I've most recently been a counsellor, a family therapist, and that's obviously been a big part of my life. But I've been involved in social justice issues all of my life as well. And we're here contemplating the biggest social justice issue that there is and there has ever been, namely climate change. So that's what drives me. That's why I'm here, standing with you and continuing to act as in the cause that we're all facing.
How do you see justice and climate linked?
Every living being, whether it's plant or animal, or whether it has the right to live. We're born into life. But when so many of our actions and attitudes and beliefs compromise that desire to live, then that's unjust. It's just simply not fair. Yes, I mean, all beings have a right to live on the planet. And my great concern, of course, is that our actions and beliefs are mitigating against that, and we're just seeing mass death. And when I think about my grandchildren, I want to say, not on my watch.
Right, not on your watch. Yep. So what's threatening your grandchildren now? What can't they do now?
Well, starting from this, I mean, they can't swim in the river very freely as I did when I was growing up. It was my playground. And so they're just simple things like that that they're not able to do. But they're not able to make the choices about where they go and what they do in their time on this planet, how they can contribute to it. You know, there's so much that in a sense kind of shuts down their capacity to contribute and to live their lives. So that's why I say, not on my watch. I want my children to have the freedom to live their lives like we're all destined to, unless we trip them up along the way, and human beings are very good at tripping up the lives of other beings on this planet as well.
So yes, we are in a climate and ecological emergency. The science is very clear.
Yep.
And so maybe you could talk about what needs to be done.
The very first thing, of course, is to acknowledge what's happening, where we are at as a species and as a planet. That's the very first thing. It's just simply telling the truth, for God's sake. That's it.
Yeah.
I feel that so strongly, you know.
Yes.
We've got to tell the truth. Only when we tell the truth about anything can we start to actually do anything about it. So that's why I'm in this movement, really, because fundamentally the government has a primary responsibility to its citizens to tell the truth about what we're all facing together. So I will continue as long as I can to agitate the government to tell the truth. And then to actually act on that truth. Act on it, do something. And there's heaps of things, of course, that our government, local and national, can do.
Yeah, so the science is clear. It's a little bit like with the COVID, that we can say this is a calamity, this is an emergency.
Yep.
And the science is saying this is what you need to do. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely it is.
Right.
There's no excuse really. If they can't acknowledge it, then I want to say, well, what are you reading? Are you informing yourself at all? And that's a fundamental responsibility for government. They must inform themselves, even if they only half believe it. You know, that's you're still going to go find out the truth.
So you're focusing on the government, and that the government needs to acknowledge the truth and tell us the truth, and then do something about it.
Yes,
Yeah. So what words do you have to the incoming government?
First one is definitely pay attention, people. Pay attention. And be prepared to acknowledge that you don't know and go find out. I've written that several times. Every climate change minister, whoever has been, has received that message from me. Because if we have this system at all called democracy, then they carry the responsibility on behalf of all of us.
So,
We've all got a job to do, of course, so I try and help individuals as well, because so many people simply don't know what to do. And so I do my little bit, I suppose, about informing them and helping them understand.
So I'm wondering, you mentioned democracy. I'm wondering what thoughts you have about our democracy, and that we've known about this climate catastrophe for decades and nothing has been done.
Very, very little. Very little.
Very little.
And so, the XR idea, and it's not just that, the XR, of course, about citizens' assemblies. That's a deliberate and intentional attempt to help governments be informed on what their populations are thinking about. So I'm fundamentally committed to that. We have, of course, there are mechanisms now where government is able to listen to the views of its citizens. But it seems to me a citizens' assembly would be a very strong and deliberate way to channel those kinds of energies and ideas. So I want that to happen.
Is there anything else that you think we haven't covered that you would like to cover?
Well, I'm thinking about standing on the banks of this Awa here, and the fact that it's like the rivers of our world, including this river here, is like a barometer really of what's happening to the wider planet. So all the kinds of things that we've heard about today are ways of focusing on and understanding what's going on in our rivers and what that means for the rest of our behaviour, like farming, for example, or towns putting their sewage into treating this river like a drain. This is the water of life, for God's sake.
Yes, it is. And it is fabulous to hear your passion about this, but you shared your passion about telling the truth. And now you're sharing a passion about your river that was your playground as a child, and how your grandchildren cannot have it as the same playground. And it's the river of life. And your passion comes through. So thank you for all that you're doing for your children, for your grandchildren, for the wider community. Thank you for that.